What if I told you that the average Italian lives 30 years longer than the average American? Not because of some rare gene or cutting-edge medical treatment, but because of the way they live each ordinary day. In the quiet rhythm of small towns and bustling piazzas, 4 simple habits are practiced so naturally that most Italians never even think of them as health tips. Yet, these habits, rooted in tradition, connection, and balance, have been shown to add decades of vibrant life. Imagine how different your future could look if you began to live this way now. Just ask Brenda, a 78-year-old from Ohio. After years of struggling with high blood pressure and fatigue, she began following only 2 of these Italian secrets. In just 3 short months, her doctor was stunned. Her blood pressure had dropped by 40 points, her energy soared, and she felt 20 years younger. If such a transformation can happen so quickly, what could it do for you? Over the next few minutes, you'll discover the 4 longevity secrets that keep Italians thriving into their hundreds, and the last one might completely change the way you think about aging in America. In America, meals have become something to rush through rather than savor. For many people, especially in our later years, eating is no longer a mindful ritual but just another item squeezed between errands, phone calls, and television programs. Breakfast is often gulped down in front of the news, lunch is eaten in the car or at a desk, and dinner, if it's not takeout, is hurried along so we can get to the next task. The average American meal lasts about 7 minutes. 7 minutes from the moment the food is on the plate to the moment the fork is set down. In that time, the body barely has a chance to register that food has arrived, let alone process it properly. The problem isn't just speed, it's what happens in the body when we eat this way. Fast eating, especially when combined with multitasking, triggers a stress response. Our bodies release cortisol, the same hormone that spikes during moments of anxiety or danger. Cortisol may be useful when you need to escape a threat, but during mealtime, it wreaks havoc. It slows digestion, impairs nutrient absorption, and encourages the body to store fat, especially around the belly. Over time, these stress signals contribute to inflammation, metabolic syndrome, and cardiovascular problems. For seniors, who may already be managing blood pressure, blood sugar, or joint pain, these effects pile up, accelerating the aging process in ways that are completely preventable. There's another consequence of eating too quickly. The brain doesn't get the memo that we're full until it's too late. Satiety signals take about 20 minutes to travel from the stomach to the brain. If you've finished your meal in 7 minutes, you're likely to keep eating long after you've had enough. This leads to overeating, weight gain, and blood sugar spikes that make you feel sluggish. Over the years, these constant surges of glucose damage blood vessels, strain the heart, and increase the risk of diabetes. Frank, a 72-year-old from Texas, knew this all too well. He used to grab fast food on his way home, eating it in the car before he even reached the driveway. The whole meal was over in less than 10 minutes. He told himself it was efficient, but efficiency came at a cost. Chronic indigestion, restless sleep, and steadily climbing numbers at every doctor's visit. When he learned about the Italian way of eating, he was skeptical. How could simply slowing down make a real difference? But within weeks of trying it, he noticed changes. He began eating smaller portions without feeling deprived. His digestion improved, and his bloating and heartburn almost disappeared. Over several months, Frank lost 25 pounds without counting calories or cutting out his favorite foods. In Italy, the idea of rushing through a meal is almost unthinkable. Whether in a countryside village or a bustling city, meals are occasions, not interruptions. Traditional Italian families often spend at least 20 minutes, often much longer, at the table for each meal. They sit together, without television or phones, and share conversation as they eat. The act of chewing slowly, savoring flavors, and enjoying companionship isn't just about pleasure, it's a form of health insurance. Science backs this up. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that people who take at least 20 minutes to eat their meals have significantly lower rates of heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. The Mediterranean diet, which has been extensively studied for over 50 years, emphasizes fresh vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fish, olive oil, and modest amounts of meat and dairy. But researchers note that it's not just what Italians eat, it's how they eat it. Slow, deliberate meals improve nutrient absorption by up to 40%. The body has time to break down food properly, the gut microbiome thrives, and blood sugar remains stable. When you eat slowly, You also reduce the production of stress hormones during meals. That means lower cortisol levels, less inflammation, and a healthier heart. Chronic inflammation has been called the silent killer because it's linked to almost every major age-related disease: arthritis, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and even some cancers. Slowing down at the table is one of the simplest and most effective ways to combat it. The benefits extend beyond physical health. Meals in Italy are a time for connection. Sitting with family or friends, telling stories, and sharing laughter strengthen bonds that are essential for emotional well-being. Loneliness and social isolation, common issues among American seniors, are significantly reduced when meals are shared. These connections, in turn, protect against depression, cognitive decline, and even early death. In other words, a long lunch isn't just nourishing your body, it's nourishing your soul. For those of us who have lived for decades with the American approach, changing the way we eat can feel unnatural at first. We're so used to multitasking that sitting down without distractions can seem like a luxury. But this is exactly why it's worth the effort. You don't need to move to Italy or overhaul your diet overnight. You can start with simple, practical steps that cost nothing and require no special equipment. First, set a timer for 20 minutes at your next meal. This isn't to rush you, it's to slow you down. Take smaller bites, chew each mouthful thoroughly, and put your fork down between bites. Pay attention to the textures, flavors, and aromas. Notice how the food feels in your mouth. If you're eating alone, resist the urge to turn on the TV or scroll on your phone. Let the meal be the main event. If you have family members, friends, or neighbors nearby, invite them to share a meal with you. Even once or twice a week can make a difference. The conversation will naturally slow your pace and make eating more enjoyable. And if you're the one preparing the food, take pride in setting the table and creating a pleasant atmosphere. Soft lighting, music, or even just a vase of fresh flowers can make mealtime feel special. If mobility is a challenge or getting out is difficult, you can still create a meaningful experience at home. Try calling a friend on speakerphone and chatting while you both eat in your kitchens. Arrange a video call with family during dinner. It may not be the same as sitting across the table, but it still fosters the sense of connection that makes the Italian way so powerful. It's also helpful to rethink portion sizes. When you slow down, you give your body time to realize it's satisfied before you've eaten too much. Over time, this naturally leads to smaller portions without the feeling of deprivation that comes with strict diets. Many Italians also start meals with a salad or vegetable dish, which helps fill the stomach with fiber and nutrients before moving on to richer foods. Another Italian habit worth adopting is treating meals as a sacred time. This means no eating while driving, working, or walking around the house. In Italy, you'll rarely see someone eating on the go. It's considered not just unhealthy but also disrespectful to the food and the experience. By making mealtime intentional, you send a signal to yourself that your health and well-being are worth slowing down for. Of course, old habits take time to change. You might find yourself slipping back into eating quickly, especially if you've spent years doing it. That's normal. The goal is progress, not perfection. Even adding 5 extra minutes to each meal can start to bring benefits. Over time, as you experience better digestion, more energy, and perhaps a bit of weight loss, you'll find it easier to stick with the slower pace. Some people worry that eating slowly will make them hungrier later, but the opposite is often true. When your body has time to process food properly, blood sugar remains steady, and you're less likely to experience sudden hunger or cravings. This helps maintain a healthy weight and prevents the cycle of snacking that can undermine balanced nutrition. The ripple effects of this simple change are remarkable. Lower blood pressure, improved cholesterol, reduced inflammation, and an even better mood have been observed in people who adopt slower eating habits. These are not minor improvements. They can mean the difference between independence and dependency in your later years. Frank's story is just one example. Across America, seniors who've embraced the 20-minute meal ritual are seeing similar results. They're not only feeling better physically but also rediscovering the joy of eating. Food becomes more than fuel. It becomes a source of pleasure, connection, and well-being. If you're ready to try this for yourself, start today. Choose one meal, maybe lunch or dinner, and commit to making it last at least 20 minutes. Sit down, take a deep breath before your first bite, and focus on the experience. Over time, aim to make every meal a mindful one. Invite others to join you, even virtually, and let conversations slow your pace. Eating is one of life's simplest pleasures, yet in our fast-paced culture, we've turned it into another chore. The Italians remind us that it doesn't have to be that way. By reclaiming mealtime as a ritual instead of a race, we give our bodies and minds the gift of better health and longer life. It's a small change with enormous rewards, and it starts with nothing more than putting down your fork between bites and taking the time to truly taste your food. This is more than a tip for better digestion. It's a philosophy of living that says your well-being matters enough to pause for. And for those of us who have spent a lifetime rushing, perhaps the greatest gift we can give ourselves is to slow down, one meal at a time. In America, fitness has often been treated like a prescription, a heavy dose of effort crammed into a few hours a week, then set aside until the next session. Gyms have become temples of health in our culture, promising transformation through high-intensity workouts, complex machines, and strict regimens. For younger bodies, that approach may seem effective, though not without its risks. But for older adults, especially those past 65, the all-or-nothing model can do more harm than good. Many seniors throw themselves into intense exercise 2 or 3 times a week, only to spend the remaining days largely sedentary. This cycle, short bursts of high impact followed by long stretches of inactivity, creates physical stress, strains joints, and confuses the body's natural rhythms. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Carol, a 68-year-old from Arizona, used to believe she was doing everything right. Twice a week, she drove to the gym for 3-hour sessions, sweating through intense cardio, lifting heavy weights, and pushing herself until her muscles trembled. She left feeling accomplished, convinced that these punishing workouts were the ticket to longevity. Yet between those days, her routine was far less active. Hours reading in her recliner, afternoons on the couch watching television, and long evenings spent knitting without moving more than a few steps. Within months, she began to notice joint pain, fatigue that lingered even after a good night's sleep, and bouts of low energy that left her feeling older than her years. Her doctor's advice was clear. Her body wasn't benefiting from the extreme peaks of activity followed by deep valleys of rest. It was breaking down from them. The truth is, our bodies, especially as we age, are not designed for sporadic bursts of punishing exercise. High-impact movements and heavy resistance training can cause microscopic injuries to tendons, ligaments, and cartilage. For a 20-year-old, the body might repair those quickly. For someone in their 60s or 70s, recovery takes longer, and inflammation can linger, leading to chronic pain. Moreover, long gaps between activities mean the cardiovascular benefits of exercise fade before they can build lasting strength. The result is a roller coaster of stress on the heart, joints, and nervous system. A cycle that accelerates wear and tear rather than preventing it. Contrast that with the rhythm of daily life in Italy, especially in the small towns and villages where the world's longest-lived people can be found. Italians don't rely on gyms to stay healthy. Instead, movement is seamlessly woven into the fabric of their days. They walk to the market to pick up fresh bread, climb stairs to their apartments, tend to gardens bursting with herbs and tomatoes, and stroll through the piazza to chat with neighbors. This kind of incidental exercise doesn't require a change of clothes, a membership card, or a training plan. It is simply part of living. And yet, science shows it is one of the most effective forms of physical activity for long-term health. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have found that consistent, low-intensity movement spread throughout the day can lower the risk of heart disease, improve metabolic health, and even reduce the risk of premature death more than infrequent, intense workouts. These gentle activities keep the cardiovascular system active without overloading it. They promote circulation, keep muscles engaged, and maintain balance and flexibility, all critical for seniors aiming to avoid falls and remain independent. Carol decided to try the Italian way. She began by taking short, comfortable walks around her neighborhood each morning. At first, she managed only 10 minutes before her knees started to ache. But she noticed something. On days she walked, she felt lighter, more energized, and even slept better that night. Encouraged, she built the habit into other parts of her day. She parked her car farther from the grocery store entrance. She took the stairs instead of the elevator when visiting friends in apartment buildings. She started tending to a small herb garden on her patio, which required her to bend, stretch, and carry small watering cans. Without realizing it, She was adding dozens of small, joint-friendly movements into her day. The results were gradual but undeniable. Her joint pain began to ease, her energy lasted well into the evening, and her mood improved. More importantly, she no longer dreaded exercise, because she wasn't forcing herself into grueling routines. Movement became a natural part of her day, something to look forward to rather than endure. The benefits of daily gentle movement go beyond muscle tone and heart health. For older adults, one of the greatest risks is loss of mobility due to weakened muscles and stiff joints. Once movement becomes difficult, independence can quickly slip away. Regular, low-impact activity prevents this decline by keeping the body systems in steady operation. Walking at a comfortable pace strengthens the legs and core without straining them. Light gardening improves balance and coordination. Even climbing stairs slowly can maintain hip and knee flexibility, which are often the first areas to stiffen with age. Another hidden advantage of the Italian model is that it minimizes the inflammatory response. High-intensity workouts, particularly for seniors, can create oxidative stress, tiny imbalances in the body cells that speed up aging and damage tissues. Low-intensity movement, on the other hand, supports the body's repair processes rather than overwhelming them. This means better recovery, less soreness, and more energy to stay active the next day. For many Americans, especially those who grew up with the idea that more pain means more gain, this approach requires a mindset shift. But it's worth making, because it not only supports longevity, it also makes staying active more enjoyable. When movement feels natural and integrated into daily life, it stops being a chore. You don't have to psych yourself up for it, schedule it on a calendar, or recover for days afterward. Instead, it becomes as routine as brushing your teeth or brewing your morning coffee. The key is to identify opportunities for movement in the life you already lead. If you have errands nearby, walk instead of driving. If the store is a bit too far, consider parking a few blocks away. Take the stairs when you can, even if it's only for 1 or 2 floors. During phone calls, walk slowly around your house or yard. When watching television, stand up and stretch during commercials. These small, repeated movements add up to hours of activity each week without ever feeling like exercise. Gardening is another excellent example. Even a small garden can provide daily movement that engages multiple muscle groups. Pulling weeds strengthens grip and arm muscles. Bending to plant seeds or harvest vegetables keeps the hips and lower back flexible. Carrying watering cans or bags of soil offers gentle resistance training. And beyond the physical benefits, spending time outdoors in fresh air and natural light supports mental health and regulates sleep patterns. Speaking of sleep, consistent daily movement is one of the most reliable ways to improve rest in later life. Many seniors struggle with insomnia or restless sleep, which can worsen fatigue and health problems. Low-intensity activity during the day helps regulate the body's circadian rhythm, making it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep. Italians who walk, garden, and move throughout the day report better sleep quality, waking up more refreshed and alert. Joint health is another critical benefit. Unlike high-impact workouts, gentle movement nourishes the cartilage in your joints by stimulating the flow of synovial fluid, the body's natural joint lubricant. This keeps joints supple and reduces stiffness, making it easier to maintain an active lifestyle without pain. It also lowers the risk of falls, one of the most serious threats to senior health, by keeping balance and coordination sharp. And there's an emotional component, too. Moving throughout the day often means engaging with the world. A walk to the market might include conversations with neighbors. Gardening might involve sharing vegetables with friends or family. Even walking around the block provides a chance to wave to familiar faces. These small interactions boost mood, reduce loneliness, and create a sense of connection, factors strongly linked to better mental and physical health. If you're ready to try this for yourself, begin by observing your current habits. How much of your day is spent sitting? Where are the natural opportunities to add gentle movement? Maybe it's walking to the mailbox instead of picking up mail from the car window. Maybe it's pacing lightly while waiting for the kettle to boil. Maybe it's doing a slow lap around your home each hour to stretch your legs. Start small. Add 5 to 10 minutes of extra movement each day, then gradually build up to 30 minutes or more, spread out over the day. The goal isn't to break a sweat or push yourself to exhaustion. It's to keep your body in motion, steadily and comfortably. Remember, the Italian secret isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. They don't think of it as exercise at all. It's just life. Carol now says she can't imagine going back to her old gym routine. Instead of dreading workouts, she looks forward to her morning walks and her evening stroll with a neighbor. She finds herself moving more without even realizing it. Watering plants, carrying groceries in smaller loads to make extra trips, standing and stretching while chatting on the phone. Each movement feels easy, yet together they've transformed her health. Her blood pressure has improved, her joints are more flexible, and she sleeps soundly most nights. For seniors who want to maintain independence, vitality, and joy in daily living, this approach is a gift. It's accessible to nearly everyone, regardless of fitness level or physical limitations. You don't need a membership card, expensive equipment, or a personal trainer. You only need the willingness to notice the opportunities for movement that are already there, and to take them one gentle step at a time. In the end, it's not about chasing records, burning calories, or sculpting muscles to perfection. It's about living in a way that keeps your body engaged and your spirit connected to the rhythm of life. The Italians have mastered this balance, and it's one we can embrace here in America, starting right now. If you make gentle, consistent movement part of your days, your body will thank you with better health, more energy, and the freedom to enjoy the years ahead, without the aches, pains, and exhaustion that so often come from doing too much, too hard, too fast. In America, it's not unusual for an older adult to spend most days without meaningful human contact. For many seniors, especially those whose children live far away or whose friends have passed on, social life gradually shrinks until it's little more than polite exchanges with a cashier or the occasional holiday gathering. Meals are often eaten alone, sometimes in front of a television, with the sound of the news or a sitcom as the only conversation. Over time, this isolation can feel like a slow dimming of the spirit, something that affects far more than just mood. Loneliness is not simply a sad feeling. It is a physical condition that impacts the body as much as it does the mind. Research from Johns Hopkins University has shown that chronic social isolation increases the risk of premature death by 50%. That's the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day or carrying the health risks of severe obesity. The body responds to loneliness as if it were under constant threat. Stress hormones like cortisol flood the system, inflammation rises, and immune function weakens. Over months and years, this state of constant alert erodes resilience, accelerates aging, and increases vulnerability to heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, and even cancer. Linda, a 76-year-old from Michigan, had been living this way for years. Widowed in her 60s, she saw her children only on major holidays, and most of her friends had either moved away or passed on. She'd eat most of her meals alone in her kitchen, her television playing in the background. At first, she told herself she enjoyed the quiet, but over time, she noticed a heaviness in her chest that wasn't physical pain, it was a gnawing emptiness. She was tired more often, she caught colds easily, and small aches seemed to linger longer than they used to. The tragedy is that this pattern is so common in America that it's almost invisible. We've grown accustomed to the idea that older adults will inevitably become more isolated as they age, as if it's an unavoidable stage of life. But in many parts of the world, especially in Italy, this is not the case. The Italian way of aging actively resists isolation. There, it is normal, expected even, that seniors remain at the center of family life and community activities well into their 90s and beyond. Consider Yepi, an 83-year-old living in a small Italian town. Every Sunday, he sits at the head of a long table surrounded by children, grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren. The meal lasts for hours, with animated conversation, laughter, and the passing of dishes prepared from family recipes. Stories are told and retold, and everyone, from the youngest to the oldest, has a voice in the conversation. This weekly tradition is more than just a pleasant social event. It's a cornerstone of his health and vitality. Research shows that such regular, meaningful connection boosts immune function, lowers stress, and even protect the brain from the kind of shrinkage associated with dementia. In Italy, connection extends far beyond family. Neighbors greet one another by name in the market. The barista knows your coffee order before you say it. The pharmacist asks about your grandchildren while filling your prescription. These small, consistent interactions create a network of belonging that cushions people from the physical and emotional toll of loneliness. Italians walk to the bakery not just for bread but for the conversation along the way. They linger in the piazza, exchanging news and jokes. It's a way of life that keeps the heart open and the mind engaged. Science has begun to confirm what Italians have always known intuitively. Strong social bonds are as vital to health as good nutrition and exercise. A study tracking over 16,000 adults for more than a decade found that those with robust social connections lived longer, had better cognitive function, and experienced fewer age-related diseases. Social interaction acts like a protective shield for the brain, maintaining neural pathways through conversation, shared activities, and emotional support. It also helps regulate stress responses, keeping inflammation in check and protecting the cardiovascular system. The absence of these connections has the opposite effect. Chronic loneliness creates a biological state similar to being in constant danger. The brain interprets isolation as a survival threat, keeping the nervous system in a heightened state of alert. Over time, this state becomes toxic. Cortisol levels remain elevated, which weakens the immune system, increases blood pressure, and damages blood vessels. The result is faster cellular aging, reduced ability to heal from injuries, and greater susceptibility to illnesses. For the brain, the cost is steep. Lonely seniors have higher rates of memory loss, poorer decision-making ability, and more rapid cognitive decline. Linda's story began to change when her daughter encouraged her to join a community cooking class at a local senior center. At first, she resisted. After all, she hadn't cooked for more than one person in years. But she agreed to go, just once, to make her daughter happy. She ended up meeting two women her age who shared her love for gardening, and soon, they were swapping recipes, trading vegetables, and meeting for lunch twice a week. Within months, Linda noticed she was laughing more, sleeping better, and even feeling stronger. Her colds became less frequent, and her doctor noted improvements in her blood pressure. The transformation wasn't due to a miracle supplement or a new workout routine. It was the simple, powerful act of reconnecting with people. Regular social interaction brought joy back into her days and vitality back into her body. The same principle is at work in Italian communities every day. By prioritizing connection, they protect themselves from the slow erosion of health that isolation brings. So, how can we bring this into our own lives here in America? It begins with making social connection a deliberate, weekly priority, what I like to call the Sunday strategy. Choose one day each week to focus on spending time with others. It could be Sunday dinner with family, a Saturday morning coffee group, or a Thursday evening game night. The day itself matters less than the consistency. The point is to create a ritual that you, and the people in your life, can count on. If family is far away, build a chosen family from friends and neighbors. Invite someone over for a simple meal or a cup of tea. Join a book club, a walking group, or a local volunteer organization. Look for opportunities to contribute to a shared purpose, whether it's planting flowers in a community garden or serving meals at a shelter. Participation creates connection, and connection feeds both the heart and the body. Technology can also be a bridge, especially when physical distance is a barrier. Schedule regular video calls with loved ones. Plan virtual dinners where you cook the same meal and eat together through a screen. While it's not the same as being face-to-face, it still provides the shared experience and emotional connection that our brains and bodies crave. Daily interactions matter too. Don't underestimate the power of small talk with the cashier at the grocery store or the neighbor walking their dog. These brief moments of human connection can lift your mood, make you feel seen, and remind you that you are part of a larger web of life. In Italy, these micro-connections are built into daily routines, and they add up to a profound sense of belonging. For those who feel shy or out of practice socially, start small. Commit to one social interaction per day, even if it's just greeting a neighbor or calling an old friend. Over time, these moments will become more natural and will begin to weave a safety net of connection around your life. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The benefits will follow quickly. Strong social ties lower stress by triggering the release of oxytocin, a hormone that promotes feelings of trust and bonding. Oxytocin, in turn, reduces inflammation and supports healthy cardiovascular function. Social engagement also encourages mental stimulation. Discussions, shared activities, and laughter all keep the brain active, which helps preserve memory and cognitive skills. For the immune system, connection acts like a natural booster shot. People with strong social networks have better immune responses to illness and recover more quickly from surgery or injury. This is partly because companionship reduces stress, and stress is one of the most potent suppressors of immunity. In other words, time spent with others is time spent strengthening your body's defenses. There's also a spiritual dimension. Being part of a community gives life meaning. Whether through family, friends, faith groups, or neighborhood gatherings, connection reminds us that we matter, that our presence and participation have value. This sense of purpose has been linked to lower rates of depression, better physical health, and increased longevity. Yeppie's Sunday dinners and Linda's cooking class are two sides of the same coin. Both show that it's not grand gestures or constant excitement that keep people healthy. It's the steady rhythm of connection. The Italians have perfected this rhythm, making it as natural as breathing. In America, we can choose to do the same, even if it takes some effort to rebuild those habits. If you've been feeling isolated, know that it's never too late to change. Start with one small step this week. Call a friend, invite a neighbor for coffee, or join a community event. Build from there. Let connection become as regular in your life as the rising sun. Your health and your happiness depend on it. Strong community bonds won't just make you feel better. They will help you live longer. They will protect your mind, strengthen your body, and slow the ticking of the clock in ways that science is only beginning to fully understand. And perhaps most importantly, they will fill your days with warmth, laughter, and the simple joy of knowing you are never truly alone. In America, the idea of slowing down can feel almost unnatural. From the time we are young, we are taught that productivity is the highest virtue, that every hour should be filled with activity, and that rest is something you earn only after you've done enough. Many carry this mindset into retirement, thinking they must remain constantly busy to stay relevant or to keep their minds sharp. The calendar stays full: doctor appointments, volunteer shifts, social obligations, errands, until the days blur into a string of checklists and responsibilities. Even leisure time is often scheduled and goal-oriented. It's no surprise, then, that chronic stress remains one of the most common health problems in older Americans. This constant push comes at a steep cost. The body interprets ongoing stress as a threat, triggering the release of cortisol and adrenaline, hormones designed for short bursts of survival energy. In small doses, they're life-saving. But when they remain elevated for weeks, months, or years, they become toxic. Cortisol damages the cardiovascular system, suppresses the immune response, disrupts sleep, and accelerates cellular aging. Studies have shown that chronic stress shortens telomeres, the protective caps on our chromosomes, which directly affects how quickly our cells deteriorate. In practical terms, it means stress can make you physically older than your chronological age. Henry, a 69-year-old from Florida, learned this the hard way. After retiring from a demanding career, he imagined life would be more relaxed. But instead of slowing down, he filled his schedule with commitments. He managed the finances for a local nonprofit, volunteered at his church 3 days a week, and made himself the go-to person for every family problem. He worried constantly about his health, his savings, his children, even the weather. His blood pressure crept upward, his sleep grew fitful, and fatigue settled in like a heavy coat he couldn't take off. The harder he worked to stay on top of things, the worse he felt. In Italy, the philosophy is strikingly different. There, life is not a race to be won but an experience to be savored. Productivity is valued, but so is the art of doing nothing, without guilt. Italians understand that rest is not the opposite of work. It's what makes work and life sustainable. This belief is embedded in cultural practices like the riposo, a deliberate pause in the afternoon when shops close, streets are quiet, and people step away from their tasks. It's not just a nap, it's a reset for the body and mind, a recognition that humans are not machines meant to run endlessly. Another cherished tradition is the passeggiata, the evening stroll taken through town or along the waterfront. Families, couples, and friends walk together at a leisurely pace, often without a destination. They talk, greet neighbors, or simply take in the changing light. This ritual blends gentle physical movement with social connection and mental relaxation, a trifecta of benefits for both body and mind. It's a built-in signal to the nervous system. The day's work is done, and it's time to unwind. The science behind these habits is compelling. Regular, intentional rest lowers cortisol levels, giving the cardiovascular system a break and allowing blood pressure to normalize. It supports the immune system, which can function fully only when the body is not in a constant state of alert. Rest also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, which helps with digestion, tissue repair, and the removal of toxins from the body. Gentle movement, like the passeggiata, has its benefits. Walking at an easy pace improves circulation without placing stress on the joints, aids digestion after a meal, and supports emotional well-being through the release of endorphins. Combined with social interaction, it strengthens feelings of connection and belonging, which further reduces stress. Over time, these small, consistent practices protect against the cellular damage that chronic stress inflicts, slowing the aging process at a molecular level. When Henry's doctor explained the toll stress was taking on his health, he was skeptical that slowing down could make much difference. But he agreed to try. He began by scheduling a 20-minute pause each afternoon, no matter how busy he felt. At first, he would sit in his favorite chair and read, but he found himself distracted, thinking about what he should be doing. Gradually, he experimented with simply sitting quietly, listening to soft music, or closing his eyes and focusing on his breath. He was surprised to discover that these moments made the rest of his day feel more manageable. A few weeks later, he added an evening walk to his routine. At first, it was just around the block, but he started to notice neighbors out doing the same thing. Some stopped to chat, others just waved. Soon, he looked forward to these strolls as much for the conversation as for the movement. Within 2 months, his blood pressure dropped, his sleep improved, and the knot of tension in his shoulders began to ease. The biggest change was harder to measure. He felt lighter, more at peace, and more present in his own life. The beauty of the Italian approach is its simplicity. You don't need to move to the Mediterranean or adopt an entirely new lifestyle to benefit from it. You can start right where you are. Here's how. Begin by choosing a 20-minute window each afternoon for deliberate rest. This could be after lunch, mid-afternoon, or whenever your energy tends to dip. During this time, step away from all responsibilities. Turn off your phone or put it in another room. Sit somewhere comfortable, perhaps by a sunny window or in your garden. You can read something light, listen to calming music, or simply breathe deeply and let your thoughts drift. The key is to let your nervous system shift from alert mode to recovery mode. Next, incorporate a daily walk at a gentle pace. It doesn't have to be long. 15 minutes is enough to start. Choose a route you enjoy, whether it's through a local park, around your neighborhood, or even inside a large building if the weather isn't cooperative. If possible, invite someone to join you. Conversation naturally slows your pace and enhances the feeling of connection. If you prefer to walk alone, use the time to notice your surroundings, the colors in the sky, the scent of flowers, the sound of leaves underfoot. Over time, you might find these rituals becoming the anchors of your day. Instead of feeling like one long push from morning to night, your day will have a natural rhythm. Periods of activity balanced with periods of restoration. This balance is what allows the body to repair itself, maintain energy, and resist the wear and tear of aging. In America, where hustle culture has been ingrained for generations, permitting yourself to rest can feel indulgent, even lazy. But the truth is, rest is a form of preventive medicine. It's the quiet work your body does when you're not pushing it, repairing tissues, consolidating memories, regulating hormones, and clearing out the cellular waste that accumulates from daily living. Without rest, these processes are interrupted, and the effects show up sooner than we expect, in our energy, our mood, and our overall health. Chronic stress doesn't just make us feel tired or overwhelmed. It literally changes the architecture of the brain. It shrinks the hippocampus, which is essential for memory and learning, and increases the size of the amygdala, which governs fear and anxiety. It also damages the mitochondria in our cells, the power plants that produce the energy we need for every bodily function. These changes make us more prone to depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. The Italian philosophy of la dolce vita, the sweet life, is not about idleness or avoiding responsibility. It's about creating a life where work, rest, and pleasure coexist in harmony. It's about understanding that well-being is not built only in moments of achievement, but also in moments of stillness, laughter, and connection. Think about the last time you allowed yourself to truly relax, without guilt or distraction. For many Americans, that memory is hard to find. We're so conditioned to keep going that we forget how to stop. But as Henry discovered, Stopping is not the enemy of living fully, it's an essential part of it. If you're ready to embrace this philosophy, start small. Set your 20-minute pause for tomorrow afternoon. Plan a short evening walk for tomorrow night. Stick with it for a week, then 2, then a month. Notice how your body responds, how your shoulders loosen, your breathing slows, your thoughts become clearer. These are signs that your stress levels are dropping, your nervous system is recovering, and your body is beginning to heal itself from years of overwork. Over time, these moments will become non-negotiable parts of your day, as essential as meals or sleep. They will give you something to look forward to, a space where you can reconnect with yourself and the world around you. And in the process, they may add not just years to your life but life to your years. Years lived with more energy, more peace, and more joy. The Italians have known this secret for generations, and it's one we can claim for ourselves. We don't need to abandon our responsibilities or move to the Mediterranean coast to live the sweet life. We just need to remember that rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And in choosing to honor that need, we choose a path toward longer, healthier, and happier lives. Longevity isn't reserved for a lucky few in distant countries. It's built, day by day, through choices that are well within our reach. The Italians have shown us that living well into our 90s, or even past 100, is not the result of expensive treatments or perfect genetics, but of 4 simple, intentional habits. They linger over their meals, savoring food and company instead of rushing. They weave gentle movement into daily life, letting their bodies stay active without strain. They anchor themselves in strong social bonds, never letting isolation quietly steal their health. And they protect their minds and bodies from the toll of stress, embracing moments of rest and joy as essential, not optional. These aren't drastic changes. They don't require a plane ticket, a gym membership, or a complete reinvention of your life. They require only a willingness to slow down, connect more deeply, and treat your well-being as the most valuable investment you can make. You can start living like an Italian today, and the benefits will begin sooner than you might imagine. Better sleep, more energy, a lighter spirit, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're giving yourself more time and more life. Now it's your turn. Which of these 4 habits will you begin with? Share your answer in the comments. I read every one and love hearing your stories. If this message resonated with you, click like to let me know, and subscribe so you won't miss the next life-changing insight. And most importantly, share this video with a friend or family member who deserves to know it's never too late to start aging well. Together, we can help each other live not just longer, but better.